The village children swarmed around the firework truck, immersed in the excitement, while only the boy with no money for fireworks stood aside, quietly trying to chime in.
Mind your own business, keep talking, and see what happens. Why don't you buy some then? If you're so rich, go buy some yourself.
Soon the children broke into a scuffle, but luckily, Grandma arrived just in time to pull them apart.
My boy, your dad is back. I'll buy it all for you to set off and play with. It'll drive them crazy with envy.
I've been waiting for 2 whole months. I've looked everywhere, but is he still not back?
Yet, before his father could return, his elderly grandmother was already reaching her end. Sensing her time was near, she approached the truck driver, hoping to have a photograph taken. The driver understood exactly what she needed and swapped the blue sky background for a plain white one. As the shutter clicked, the old woman offered a gentle smile. One was waiting for death's arrival, while the other awaited his father's return. It wasn't death that the old woman feared, but rather leaving her young grandson with no one to care for him. The boy, Mao Do, lived alone with his elderly grandmother. Mao Do had no memory of his mother, and his father had left long ago to work in the city, not returning for years. Every time he aced an exam, Mao Do would climb to the highest point in the village, hoping to catch a glimpse of his father returning home. But every time he was met with disappointment. When he missed him, he could only look at his father's photo, tenderly wiping away the dust. Shortly after, the driver delivered the finished portrait to Grandma. Mao Do overheard that this itinerant vendor could help deliver items to the city, so he found a new way to reach out, and went home to retrieve a letter he had written. But by the time he got back, the truck had already driven away. He chased it desperately for a long time, but failed to stop it. With the spring festival approaching, Mao Do put up the couplets early. He hoped his father would come home for the new year this time, but Grandma passed away, still longing for her son, leaving Mao Do all by himself. That kind smiling photo became Grandma's funeral portrait. Just yesterday, he was putting up couplets to welcome the new year. Today, they are separated by death. From that day on, besides waiting for his father, he also waited for the truck driver, who often visited the village. He thought that since the driver traveled so much, maybe he could help find his father. The man Goran spends his days driving his truck through various towns, besides selling goods. His main purpose was to avenge his late son. Years ago, when his son was diagnosed with cancer, Goran's best friend scammed him out of all his life, saving money. Since then, he has scoured every corner of every town, determined to find that man and settle the score himself. One day, as Goran was driving along as usual, the sound of fireworks suddenly erupted from the back of the truck. When he got out to check, thick smoke was already billowing from the cargo bed. Next second, someone jumped out. It was Mao Do. Without a second thought, Goran rushed to save what was left of his goods. But the fireworks had ruined almost everything. With no other choice, he had to take Mao Do back with him.
You owe me a total of 4,820 yuan for the goods.
Knowing Mao Do had no money, Goran made him put his thumbprint on a promissory note. The next morning, he took Mao Do back to the village to demand compensation. Upon arriving, he realized the boy was all alone in the world. The village chief gave Mao Do a harsh beating, then told Goran that his grandmother had passed away. Even if she were alive, she could never afford such a sum. Mao Do was like a hot potato, being passed back and forth between the two men. Mao Do had an idea and pointed to the phone number on the wall, saying, "Take me to the city to find my father. He'll pay you back for everything."
Find him and I shot.
Really, if you don't believe me, fine. He's the one who had the kid. He'll pay you.
And so, by a twist of fate, Mao Do ended up in Goran's truck, leaving behind the winding, seemingly endless mountain roads. A pellet drum in the truck caught Mao Do's eye, but as he reached for it, Goran suddenly snapped. "You trying to steal that?" That was his late son's favorite toy, and the only thing keeping him going all these years. Mao Do had no concept of money. He only knew his father was richer, and that finding him meant Uncle Goran would get paid back. Goran knew exactly what 4,800 yuan represented back then. The adult world is measured in numbers, something a child could never understand. A few days later, they finally arrived in the city, only to find his father's construction site had already become a skyscraper. A security guard told them the workers had moved on to another site. He gave Goran a phone number But despite many attempts, the call never went through. Maodu couldn't understand why the world was divided into the rich and the poor, just as he didn't realize he was destitute himself. So when he saw a beggar, Maodu generously handed over 5 yuan. Little did he know he was even worse off than this little beggar. Goran quickly snatched the money back.
You went to the Zhang's, right?
Was that towering?
The scene left Goran lost in thought. Ever since his son died, the kindness in his heart had been buried deep. Ultimately, he gave the 5 yuan back to the little beggar. After eating, they headed back to the truck. Not only did he get a ticket, but the windows had also been smashed. Since taking this kid along, nothing has gone right. Instead, he ended up losing more money. That night, Goran went over the accounts again. He added up all of Maodu's expenses from the past few days. Then he made Maodu leave another thumbprint on the note.
Dad, come over here.
Come on, come here.
Reluctant at first, Maodu gave in immediately upon seeing the knife. His father was still nowhere to be found, yet his debt kept growing. The next day, they visited another construction site, but still found nothing in.
You know a guy named Nohu?
Oh, yeah, jeez.
No, I don't know him. Director, there's a construction site by the bridge in the south. A guy named Sunshan Shan went there looking for someone. He knows a lot of people.
With no other choice, Goran drove to the next location, but due to a moment of carelessness, the wheel got stuck in a mud pit. He tried several times but couldn't drive it out. Maodu tried to help push with his meager strength, but the truck didn't budge. Instead, Maodu's shoes completely fell apart. Just then, a truck passed by, and they asked the driver for a tow. As soon as the driver asked for money, Goran snatched his cigarette back and told him to get lost. Goran fixed Maodu's shoe. They had to spend the night in the truck. He had the truck towed back to town the next day. Just then, Maodu spotted that truck from yesterday. To get back at the driver for Goran, he grabbed a wrench and smashed the window. He got his revenge, but it cost him 600 for towing and 700 for 2 panes of glass. He ended up having to pay 300 yuan in damages. Goran found it both absurd and frustrating. The two then went to the construction site's hiring office, but the foreman told them, Maodu's father still owed them money, and they had no idea where he'd gone. Maodu's father was nowhere to be found, and Goran was left stuck with even more debts. With no other choice, Goran took Maodu along to resume his old trade. Just then, Maodu spotted a thief and cried out. That shout landed Goran in deep trouble. Soon a few thugs came looking for trouble. Without a word, they trashed his stall completely. He hoped that by taking a few hits, they would just leave. When Maodu saw Goran being bullied, he rushed over and bit the thug, only to be thrown hard onto the ground. Seeing them strike a child, Goran reached his breaking point. He lunged forward and got into a brawl with the gang. Outnumbered, he ended up beaten black and blue. As time went by, the bond between them began to shift. Goran decided that the debt no longer mattered. The next day, he took Maodu, intending to bring him back to his village, but his grandmother was gone, and he had no family left there. Maodu got out, but he didn't want to go back to that empty home. Goran claimed he would just leave him there. He knew the pain of losing family better than anyone. Seeing Maodu's small lonely figure, his heart began to soften. Still grumbling, he eventually turned the truck around.
Okay, here's one.
Go on, you play with it. I want to save him. How do I play? We'll play tonight. It's going to rain. No. Hey. Yeah.
Neither of us owes the other anything. Hey.
How could this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing this, Goran was reminded of his own son. So he took Maodu to print a missing person notice. From then on, they sold their wares while asking around for Maodu's father. Goran secretly vowed to help Maodu find his father. While packing up, they ran into a fellow vendor who wanted to borrow Maodu for 150 yuan to help sell goods. Goran agreed, without a second thought. But the man used the boy to stage a sob story to boost sales. Goran couldn't stand seeing him exploited like that. He insisted on taking Maodo back immediately. Maodo also made off with a toy knife. Unknowingly, Goran had begun to care for Maodo, as if he were his own. Whenever they passed a construction site, Goran would ask workers about Maodo's father, while earning a little extra money on the side. In their spare time, the two of them played together, like father and son. One day at dinner, Goran spotted the enemy he had been seeking for years. Without a word, he grabbed a knife from his truck and stabbed the man repeatedly, only to find that Maodo had already swapped his weapon for a toy knife. Spared from death, the man begged for mercy, but Goran was not ready to forgive. King Goran still wanted to hit the man. Maodo rushed over and held him back tightly. At Maodo's urging, Goran finally walked away. In this moment, he finally let go of years of built-up hatred. While they were eating one day, Goran suddenly received a call from Maodo's father. Before they even finished their meal, the two rushed over to the construction site. Maodo, who had never seen his father, felt a sudden wave of timidity. He followed closely behind Uncle Goran. Seeing someone come out to meet them, Goran didn't say a word. He threw a punch at the man, but fortunately other workers quickly intervened. They later learned that this man was not actually Maodo's father.
Poor Maodo. This child has had a bitter life. That place in Mao's used to provide the water, just working the fields over at Jiajiazhuang.
After learning the truth, Goran spent a lot of money to take Maodo to stay in the best hotel in town. He got him a haircut, a bath, and bought him new clothes and trendy new shoes. At the festival, Maodo wrote a blessing for Goran's deceased son. Goran was deeply moved by the boy's gesture. Once the crowds dispersed, Goran set off fireworks just for Maodo. This reminded Maodo of what his grandmother had told him.
I've been searching everywhere for 2 months, but he's still not back.
Looking at the sky full of fireworks, Maodo burst into tears.
These dumplings are terrible.
Yeah, his nose isn't very big.
Come here.
Okay, yeah.
Come here. Hearing the answer, he wanted Maodo sat on Goran's shoulders and cried even harder, because Maodo had waited so many years to finally see fireworks like these. He had always hoped his father would come home and buy fireworks just for him. Now Goran had finally made that dream come true. The next day, Goran took Maodo back home. He even tucked all his money into the boy's school bag. Then he gave his own son's pellet drum to Maodo as a parting gift. Watching Uncle Goran's truck drift further away, Maodo held the pellet drum tightly, weeping as he chased after the vehicle.
It's so cold. Cold. Apple. Divers. Breakfast. Hanging. I don't want to practice.
Uncle Goran honked his horn, then responding to Maodo. In truth, before their journey, both were like this broken pellet drum, carrying deep, unhealed scars. What began as a stumbling accidental burden on the road to find family ultimately became a journey of mutual healing. Goran finds a way out of his grief through fatherly love, while Maodo fills the void left by a lack of kin. The film focuses on left-behind children and the lonely struggle of those at society's margins. The pellet drum is a symbol of childhood longing and reconciliation. Within its rhythmic beats lies the simplest warmth of the human world. As the drum thumps, broken hearts are slowly mended. In the end, you realize that the strongest bonds aren't always forged by blood. Not father and son by birth, but closer than kin. Raising a child is a lifetime's bond.